when I came to Vancouver Island, which was in 1987, I was looking for work and wanting to make connections, real connections with people, not the kind of social ones. And so volunteering, when I saw an ad for AIDS Vancouver Island, was an easy choice for me. I'd already spent time working on social movements and the women's movement in particular, and had some real concerns about mostly lesbian rights at that point, as well as gay rights. But I also had learned that you make real connections with people when you're actually really working on something that matters to them as well as you. I valued that time and the connections that I made and the people that I met there, as well as a sense of being able to contribute to something that was not a particularly popular thing at the time, because there was still a lot of controversy around things that AVI was trying to do. But the fall of '87 was when they first, I think, advertised outside their own core group for volunteers, and so there were quite a number of us who came together at that point. And I was working on both the phone helpline and the education thing, so doing some speaking engagements with people. So I can remember fundraisers with Sean Costello in his awkward ballerina costume, and Jeff Rodenberg belting out opera in his motorcycle leathers. Things that linger with some poignancy now, because of course most of those men are not around any longer. But I remember people. I was glad to see the website included a picture of Michael Yoder, who I think has been contributing for the whole 30 years, probably, on an almost full-time basis. Through much of that time, it was full-time at least, to the various AIDS-related groups in town. And AIDS was still a controversial thing. It was not, carefully, HIV/AIDS in those days, because it hung heavy. The AIDS quilt, which came first to the Vancouver Art Gallery, and a group of us went over to staff and assist with that. It's a very moving thing to unfold and display and refold and pack that quilt. And then a smaller collection of quilts came to Victoria, to the North Park Gallery at the time, which again I was involved with. So some of it's very colorful and vivid, and some of it's very sad, but mostly it was what I had hoped for and anticipated, which was a chance to work with people on something that mattered. And it did matter at the time. I don't know whether you've been able to locate Ted Matthews and interview him or not, but I do remember him making the motion, and my being able to second, to initiate the first needle exchange program in Victoria at a time when that was still a controversial thing. Nairn Hollett, who did a great deal of work and just quietly provided leadership while we were trying to learn how to do education, and as with Michael, who was the head of the helpline group that I was working with, and I spent a lot of time with them. So I have friendships that go back that whole 28 years, I guess, for me, that I still prize to this day. And there was that excitement that went with, as in the early days of the women's movement, with creating something that mattered, that was that required a kind of courage to go out and say, this is what you're doing. And I met so many brave men and women in that process.